Hello, 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 everybody. I'm just gonna. Oh, it says it's gonna do this sort of thing. Blah 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 blah. Hello, everyone. How is everybody doing? That's it. I just wanted to just check. We've got Hellish Gaming. Hi, Hellish Gaming. Nicholas. Hi from Wokingham. Visiting from the US. Oh, fantastic. Welcome to Blighty. We got Robert here. Hello, Robert. Peter, Arcanix, this is terrible sort of things, and Sue, hello, and Warren, good afternoon, yes indeed, hello Warren, how are we all doing? I'm hoping that everything works all cool. It says sign into chat. I need to sign, why would I need to sign into my own chat? Why would I need to sign into my own chat? I don't know, but I'm going to turn that off because I can't have my own stream on in the background like a noob, so I'm just going to turning something. So there we go. Hi, 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 hi. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Oh, I know why. Because you need to have it in a little window. There we go. So how's everybody? Yes. So a year. It's been a whole year. A whole year since I first sat down in front of a camera and said, well, I didn't say how's it. I just said. Hello, which is lovely. Hi Ursula. Well, I was going to say something from in German, but my German's awful. So it's terrible. There we go. Yes, thank you everybody. It's been wonderful for a whole year. Thank you, Nicholas. Yes, woo! That's what I think. Yeah, a whole year. I was just saying to my wife earlier that this day. A year ago, I sat down and I was like, oh, if I get like 1,000 subs in a year and 4,000 watch hours and stuff like that would be my goal. I am, has to be said, I'm blown away. And really, thank you ever so much, each and every one of you, for all of the support, all the well wishes and the fantastic comments that you guys put in the channels that have kept me going through some, I won't say dark times, it seems a little bit full on, but some of the fantastic sort of moments that we've all had. So here we are. So it's a year, and so we have a very small glass of prosecco in a glass. I don't know why this is a prosecco. We had some people around earlier, and I'm not going to put a wine glass on a thing. Anyway, so we're all here. So we're just gonna. I thought what we would do today is I have threatened or have been asked many times to show some of my photography. As regular viewers of the channel will know, I don't really kind of show my photography too much. It's one of those things where I don't know. My photography is somewhat personal, and I've kind of reached the stage in my photographic career where I kind of go, do you know, it's kind of just for me. But today I'm going to give you the potted history of Alex's photographic sort of career, starting from way back, and prefer so much. Prof Ray's, yes, yeah. We're not going to go into digital things, but tonight I'm going to try and sell you the iPhone 5S. Yes, this is the phone that you need to know. Amazon links are in the description box below. Yeah, yeah, the gear is not what we're here for, is it? It's the things, and I'm going to be very, very unprofessional here. I'm going to show you my room that is still full of photo books that have not been, that have not actually been put in place where they're supposed to be. And for some reason, so we moved in September, and this room that I record and edit all the TPE stuff is still like, it's a bare room. My wife says it's very depressing, but there we go. So that's why I film all the episodes in the lounge, because it's done. So that's kind of thing. So here we go. Anyway, so I thought what we'll do is we'll have a look at my photography and talk you through kind of, who am I? Who is Alex? I kind of allude to some things in my videos and talk about bits and bobs of my background. And obviously back in the day when I say, oh God, Christ, it's only a year ago when I started doing the Photographic Eye videos, most of the people who interacted with them were people who I know. Obviously on Facebook, I went onto Facebook and did what is actually a kind of a rookie mistake and asked the people who I know to watch my videos. As it turns out, that's actually not too bad, because most of my friends on Facebook are photographic type of people, so kind of my audience. But the very first comment on my channel was by a guy called Craig Van Straten, who I know from student days. And he went, "Oh, this is so fantastic. I will be certainly looking forward to more of your episodes," and has never commented again. So thanks, Craig. I know Craig pretty well, so that's fine. But yeah, so we've come from there to all of these guys, whose names I can remember, and it's lovely to see in the chat here, which is not working. So I'm going to disable the chat thing because that looks silly, seeing as it doesn't work. I've just noticed that it was ridiculous. It's nice to see everybody, all the people some of the names are fairly new, some of the names go back a little bit a while, and I feel I get to know you. Like Warren, I see your name. Your name comes up quite a lot. The cake, you were asking about cake. Well, this is the weird prosecco-y thing, and I have, because I'm boring, some Adnams Ghost Chip Pale Ale 0.5%. Boo! But that's the thing. I had a heavy night last night, but I had more than I probably should have last night. So I'm going to go on the lighter side of things tonight. Anyway, so Sue Armagnac. There we go. Yes, Sue. I've gotten rid of the white rectangle. I thought it was going to work. It did work previously. It was just about the chat, but I haven't set it up properly because I are noob. So we'll put it on. Anyway, so what kind of prompted me to start the Photographic Eye? It was way back in 2008. No, it wasn't. It was a couple of years ago. I had been watching Ted Forbes and people like that. And oh, by the way, I've just noticed my cat Haggis is busy licking his bum on screen. See, look at it. Hello, Haggis. You're famous. Yeah. Oh, he's like, oh, there are people are watching me. So I kind of went, oh, do you know what? There's a lot of people talking about photography on YouTube, and oh, hi, Hellish. That's cool. I'm fantastic to have you here. Yeah. So it was kind of like I thought, you know, I'd like to do that. I'd like to talk about photography. I do like to talk about photography in real life. I like to talk to people, about, photographic things. Not necessarily gear. I find that kind of conversation, it is kind of, it's dull, and there's only so much you can discuss about lenses and things. But when you get talking to people about photography, about photographers, and about the sort of things that they enjoy, that becomes a far more engaging conversation. And that's what I wanted to try and do, is to say, well, look, there are other ways of approaching photography. So that's kind of where I came from with the TPI. Incorporeal is like, dead cats do that. They absolutely do. And Haggis has decided that he definitely wants to be part of this stream. So I'm not going to kick him out of the root shed. Poor old little cat. He's 15 years old, so I will put up with him, and he's not crawling at the door going mew. So my first photograph, yes, at Aperture of Life, it says, what was my first photograph? The very first photograph that I can think of the top of my head is certainly the one that I remember taking, was of a guy called Andrew Turner in front of my front door in a place called North Crawley, which is just outside Milton Keynes. Uh, I probably would have been about like 7, maybe 8. It was on my Spider-Man camera, which I do still have, but not here with me. Just rather remember it's in the lounge downstairs. So yeah, it was a little Spider-Man camera. Took 1/26 film or something like that. It was little square pictures, which is probably why I like square photographs now. And that was it was him just being silly in front of a door. So that was kind of. That was sort of what got me started. And I was going to show a picture, which I'm not entirely sure that I actually have, so I'm just going to just double check. It was the kickstart of my time in photography, of me starting to feel like this was something that was interesting. And that sort of came across also because of my grandfather. And my dad were both keen, what I suppose what I would call these days the keen amateur. They would enter photo competitions, more my grandfather than my dad, and it was just kind of that's where it seems to have all started. And I was encouraged throughout my teens and my formative years, you want to call it that, about sort of pursuing photography as something to enjoy. I never really considered it as a career. It was never something that was suggested to me as something that one could do. And the only reason that I started photography is that because when I was a teenager in South Africa, conscription was still going, and I really didn't want to join the army. I got some call-up papers, and they were like, "Hey, if you're not in tertiary education on such and such a date, then you can come and visit us at Nasrec Centre, and we will give you a 2-year, all expenses paid, trip to the bush to drive around artillery," which is what they called me up for the first time. And I was just like, that sounds like a naff deal. So I was kind of like, well, I'm going to go and study something because you could defer it. So I looked around, and studying photography was an option. And because my marks at school were not very good, I went, hey, photography will take me. So I went and I did it. And it turns out I actually had a reasonable aptitude for it, I'd like to think. And we will look at some of my photos today. So I was going to say, today's a bit of like an Ask Me Anything on Reddit. So if you'd like to ask a question, you can just, as Erica's done, put a big question mark in there so I can see it in the chat. And it says, do I still develop my own film and prints? And I don't. I think that's kind of it's a shame. I do miss it. I have to say, I really do miss. I miss the darkroom. I miss the smell of chemistry. I miss the tactile nature of photography when it's film. When you are doing that alchemistic process of capturing the light. And this is the international sign for light. Right, and then just kind of putting the film into the canvas, doing all the magic process, and then seeing when you pull out the spiral and you roll it out and you look through the picture, and so you go, oh my god, that's pretty cool, that's pretty cool. And then you go through the process of obviously creating a contact print and then test prints, and so it is a very hands-on process, and I do miss it. And one of the things that is on the very long list of projects to do with the new house that we moved into is that there is actually space now to have a darkroom. All that I kind of need is plumbing. Actually, it's a very long, boring story, but it's an old house. So half of the house, the half that's behind me now, has plumbing, but all the rooms that are suitable for darkroom are on that side of the house. So there's no plumbing and there's no water. Anyway, but yes, I would very much like to get back into developing my own films and all that sort of stuff. And I'm going to say, if you haven't had a chance to do something, and certainly you don't need all this kind of thing to do your own thing. You could do it in a cupboard under the stairs. It's not difficult. there is, yeah, I would certainly suggest that you give it a whirl. So we got here. So hi, Gordon. Hello from Scotland. Yeah, I used to live in Edinburgh for a couple of years. Whereabouts in Scotland you're from? A photo editorial. This is from Black Pit Studio. I have been threatening for many years now to put some sort of monograph together, and it's always one of those things that seems to get kicked down the road. I don't know why. It's just I never seem to get around to getting there. But hey ho, hopefully sometime in the future. 35mm or 120, says Tom. Quite frankly, most of my stuff is 35mm. Well, at least it was 35mm. I do like the square format. So if I'm talking 120 like medium format, I would somewhat gravitate towards square, because that's kind of that was my preferred format. But obviously, if you're shooting like 6.7 or 6x4.5, it's not going to be square. And my first medium format was a Bronica ETRSI, which is a 6.4.5. Obviously, has the benefit from a very poor student's perspective of having was it 15 images on a roll, something like that. So it's better than 6.6 and obviously better than 6.7. But I think it's different strokes for different feels and moods. And some of the pictures we're going to look at today have both. So that's kind of interesting. Archaics, yeah, it's lovely. It's such a nice sort of feeling. That kind of that process is really good. So Lars, fantastic. JR, mentors as a therapeutic tool. Yeah, I absolutely, I totally agree. I think there are so many ways with photography that we can disconnect with the world and feel more relaxed, more chilled, and stuff like this. I'm glad to hear that it's helping you out. Sue, many thanks. I mean, there's so many thanks. I have to say, it's absolutely heartwarming to see everybody. Sue has asked, like, apart from other photographers, are there film directors or directors who are an influence or cinematographers? Interesting enough, they're kind of names that I don't necessarily know off the top of my head, but as a student, as somebody who was in my formative years of photography, I was very much into music, and at that time, this period, MTV had just started in South Africa, so everybody was like, oh yeah, MTV, and we used to watch like Headbangers Ball and stuff, and this was kind of the period of Marilyn Manson and grunge and all these sort of things, and a lot of those videos late at night were extremely visually arresting, and a lot of my work, certainly in the early days, was influenced by them, by the music videos of the time. So this is why it's kind of tricky to put their fingers on, because obviously they're not names that necessarily would spring to mind. But if I'm looking at external influences, those are certainly the people who I draw a lot of influence from. And in my portraiture work, it's people like John Singer Sargent. They kind of, just the way that people stand and they comport themselves, I suppose might be the word. So that's kind of so lots of places where I draw influence from. But you should just kind of, whatever you sort of like, you sort of go, I quite like that, write it down, and I think, just be free to pull in stuff from everywhere that you like. So we got Aperture of Life has asked me, apart from portraiture, what other genres am I into? Again, we're going to see today, and we're going to get in a little bit. So Steve Simmons says he got a thumbs up yesterday, and there are also people lovely. It's yes, fantastic. So I think what we're going to do, and we're going to try something out. Now, if I'm using a piece of software called OBS, which is how we stream all this, and I have set up a thing where I could do a slideshow. So if it goes a bit pear-shaped, then just bear with me. So I'm going to just change over here. There we go. Oh, look at that. Right, okay, so it's got that picture there. So we'll get rid of the chat. get that. There we go. So these pictures that we have here, and if I do this, yes, it does actually work. What do you know? Okay, so I'm going to give you kind of like a potted history about my career as a photographer from the images that I actually have to hand, because obviously there's a lot that have changed, or not have changed, that are not, they're stuck on hard drives in all sorts of places. So these are the ones that I've got, and this as a starting point is kind of what I wanted to do as a younger photographer, as somebody getting into photography. I wanted to be a photojournalist. He says, supping on his prosecco, because it's how photojournalists draw, you know. I wanted to be a photojournalist, and what I sort of started off with was photographing what was around. And this is South Africa in the early 90s, and one of the things that I got the very great privilege to do was spend some time on a platinum mine out near near a place called Rustenburg in South Africa. And so I think this is first year, because my dad worked on the mines at the time. And so this was me as a first year with a 50mm lens, walking around the marshalling yards, because they were still using steam at the time, as you can see. So it was one of the few places in South Africa where steam locomotion was still still in use. And this is all FP4. I can remember it. My dad sort of dropped me off at the gate and said, "Look, I've arranged for you to go." And I just spent the whole day just wandering around. And I was free to do whatever I wanted, go wherever. There was no health and safety stuff. It was just like, do your own thing. So these photographs are a time of the guys doing repair work. So they were kind of the steam yards, you know, the train yards, where they would strip apart these things. So you see these guys here are working on, I think it looks like a ball bearing or a bearing set up from I don't know what the correct is and stuff, but this is sort of pretty much me as I photographed as I felt at the time, which was, I liked the look of things. I liked the industrial thing. I was beginning to make story, and at the time, I don't want to say that I had such an eye for things and what have you, because it's not true at all. But it just goes to show that I do think that if you just kind of follow your gut and photograph things that you find interesting, and let it sort itself out afterwards, then you can start finding things. Like, I didn't walk around this yard kind of going, I want to shoot this picture, I want to shoot that picture. It was sort of like, let's just see what happens. Let's see how it rolls. And this was, so this little sequence here, we've got, the guys who've opened up the bearing case, and they're doing all the bits and bobs, and they put some new stuff in. And then this is an old bloke who was then putting the cover back on. And this actually, I photographed this so many years ago. This is still one of my favorite portraits that I've ever taken. It wasn't posed. I didn't ask him to do anything. I just photographed him doing his role. And even now, this is 1994, so 30 years later. I look at that, and I can remember that print, because I struggled with it, because it's hard to print the picture, because there's obviously quite a lot of difference going on. I remember that print being slapped up on the wall in the darkroom at photo school, trying to get it right, and I just love it. It's such a beautiful picture, he says, and maybe some people can whatever, but I would have quite happily done my entire career taking pictures like this, but it was not to be. Anyway, so more pictures of the steam yard, and this is again, this is completely different to the picture from before, but it's photographing things you find are quite interesting. I don't think there's anything more to it than that. It's just you photograph what you see, you photograph things that are interesting to you, and you just let people be themselves. You know, this guy always reminds me of Clouseau, Inspector Clouseau from the Pink Panther pictures. It must be the moustache, I think, and the fact he does look a little bit like Peter Sellers. But it's funny, you know, that you can sit there and 30 years later still remember. I can remember being in the cab with this guy, you know, and smoking cigarettes with him, and just talking, and that's what I think ultimately this is what it's about. You know, this was a moment where all these guys were just going about their jobs, and they were happy for me just to be in the background, just taking pictures, you know, not worrying about anything. And it's interesting that none of them gurned for the camera either. There's one or two pictures where the guys are being a little bit silly, but for the most part, I think because I just let them get on with what it is they're doing. So if you find yourself in a situation where you are just, you know, making a photo story and what have you, just, yeah, don't worry too much about all the aesthetics and the things like that. Just go with it. And of course, this is a period now that has long gone. I'm going to guess that steam is now not used on the mines in South Africa, and it's just, yeah. And of course, that picture sums it up. You know, it's like all of these old locomotives that are now basically derelict. You know, it's just the kind of thing. So there we go. Right. So that's kind of a brief, and we'll just nip out of this quickly. That is a very brief look at some of the work that I wish I'd had kind of sort of continued with. I never really pursued that too much, you know. But we'll look at some other student work in a minute. So we got you know, we got the Pursuit of Perfection, Vonip, Ragdolls, and Turkish Angora. I'm guessing that's some sort of cat channel or something. Anyway, thank you very much for a happy birthday from New Zealand, all the way down. I have some friends in not Auckland, and Dunedin. There we go. And who we got? Sue. Yeah, thank you, Sue. Yes, I think the black and white does work very well. And because that was first year at photo school, all of our photography was required to be black and white, because we had to process and print our own film, and we were only allowed to photograph black and white. It was only second year. It was only second we were allowed to the mysteries of colour, which was pretty cool. So yes, I think had I photographed that in colour, it would not have had anything like the sort of the tonal impact that it has. Lovely. So we got Dave Hammelberg. Oh, cool name. Yeah, thanks for the channel. It's yes, it can be highbrowed. I sort of sit there and go, we should discuss. Let's discuss the meaning of layering in my pictures. It's great. You know, I just sometimes it can get a little bit full on, but for the most part, I think if you just sit back and relax and just chill and remember why we're here, because we enjoy it. So that's kind of a nice thing. And thank you, Shelley, and this side towards screen. Yes, congratulations. Thanks ever so much. I'm glad to hear it helps. Yes, Shelley, it is a thing, and we'll see some other work of my student days time, because obviously for those of you who I'm sure you're aware, in 1993, 94, 95, there was a big transition. It was a big period of change in South Africa, so there are some photographs coming up which kind of also sort of showcase that sort of stuff. And we got, I didn't know, Aperture Life, he says Pentax K1000. No, this is Canon 01. But the K1000 was it was the recommended camera for the photo school. simply because it's nice and basic and easy to use. But I inherited my dad's A1 for that. And we got so Black Pit Studios. Have I heard of Mixang Photography? I haven't. No, please do enlighten me in the chat. Thank you ever so much, Fenland Wildlife Clips. You have been around for a while. I say, and I don't always reply to you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I do see your comments, and then I kind of I think I will get back to you, and then things happen, and I can. So if I have not responded to your comments, I do apologise. We've got Granville here, Maharaj. There we go. Hey Alex, how's it from Mizanzi? Sorry, I'm so out of practice with these things. Anyway, congrats. Thanks. It's awesome. Thank you ever so much for being here. I agree the photographs are black and white. Yes, thank you for the channel. I love it because it's not bad. It is. Adam has hit the nail on the head here. Adam Lazak. It is. That's the whole point. I've never been a very accomplished technical photographer. I think that's probably the way of putting it. So my focus has always been on kind of just taking pictures that I like. And maybe as you get older, you're kind of like, it becomes less of an issue. And it's like, I don't really care because, somebody pays me money for my pictures, so, sort of thing. But if I look back throughout my entire career, I've never been that fussed. He said, thinking about it now, I've never been that fussed about having things perfect. And maybe to my detriment sometimes, but there was always a thing in a Kodak control book, because we used to do hand processing color at photo school, so we'd have E6 and C41 tanks that we would hand process, dip and dunk things. So they were a nightmare, but they had a control strip from Kodak that you put through every day, and you ran to make sure that the chemistry was all in control. And in that book, and it was a folder like this of stuff, so it was a nightmare to go through. So if the thing was out of control once you plotted it, it would have examples. And Kodak never said the word correct. In all of those pictures, they never said this is right. They never said this is the way it should be. The phrase that they used was called customer acceptable. And I kind of took that and maybe kind of ran with it a little bit further than it probably should be. But so long as, certainly in my photography that I was selling to people, that I would use that as a gauge. It's like, so long as the customer is happy, so long as the person who's buying, who's commissioned me, paying me money for this, is happy with what I've produced for them, then that's what matters. The technicalities are not necessarily the most important thing. So that was the kind of thing. Oh, look at this. Well, I've been waffling. We've got a whole bunch of stuff. So, are the glasses new? No, they're not new. I don't wear them day to day. I don't wear glasses as a normal thing, sort of thing. But on a screen, I do, because I'm a little bit short-sighted. I think it's short-sighted, but it's so what happens is I get headaches because I have to lean. I'm getting old. So that's kind of where they come from. I've worn them with screens for many years now. So this is kind of my I'm at work look, and this is my camera face. So I was like, so there we go. So we got the cameras that have inspired Charles. Thank you ever so much. Manuel, thank you from Poland. Not Poland, Portugal. Unfortunately, I know no Portuguese. Why do I not know Portuguese? It's a failing on my part. I know prego roll, and that's kind of it, which is ridiculous. And Selkie, and again, you can see I'm having to lean in, so I can't read because I've got a 27-inch screen, and you think I'll be able to see some of this stuff. I can't. It's the last couple of years I think they've been tricky for all of us, and finding and of course I have to say that if it had not been for COVID, it had not been for being forced to sit at home and being forced to reevaluate my priorities in photography and things like that, then I would have I would probably never have actually started the channel. So in a very weird way, I should probably say thank you to COVID, because it gave me the kick up the bum that I think I needed for some time. So, but I'm here. I'm glad to hear it's given you inspiration. Yeah, it is. I can't believe it's been a year, but wow, it's made me. Graham's also an interesting sort of point about, does photography, has, being photographed, shooting in black and white, help me understand color more. I think one of the reasons why they did it, why they said that we need to photograph in black and white, is because there was a couple of things. They said, well, look, we're dealing with the visual aspect, the technical aspect, and the actual the process. There were three separate things that they enjoyed. So they wanted us to know about how to do black and white properly. And if you spend a year photographing in black and white and processing in black and white and printing in black and white, you get a fairly decent handle on how all these sorts of things work. Before we introduced color, and then you had to process all your color, or not individually, because you could actually dump it in the lab. So we all took turns. I think what it does not necessarily made you appreciate color more. It made you appreciate more about how you influenced the image making process. Because obviously, black and white, there's a lot more scope. I personally feel for manipulation, for changing things, for working things around. So it gave me an idea of understanding the process, the physical process of how light interacts with film, and creates that latent image that we then sort of break, not break. So I'm talking, so because this thing flashed and it totally destroyed my train of thought. But that's the thing. So we kind of, we learned how to use the black and white. We learned how to understand the way that all the film is working and how that light interacts with things like that. And that gives you a far better idea about what you as a photographer are doing. That because you are taking something from over here, which is the light, and you're putting it onto the film or the sensor, whatever you want to call it, and you're the conduit that it falls through. And if you understand how the light interacts with the film, then it's a lot better thing. So that's kind of, I think, where they were looking for us to have it. Where we photographed it for an entire year with film. So we got to so black and white. Thank you, Colden Shepherd. I was about to call you Golden Shepherd. I'm so sorry, Colden. Colin Light, thank you. Happy birthdays. It's also I don't know how to find you, Ryan. I know it's one. I have no idea either. It just seems like one day, and it wasn't that long ago. I was saying to my wife at Christmas. I remember being in my mum and dad's place, and I just released a video on William Eggleston. I was going, oh, it's got like 20 views. So great! I had 20 views today. It was so amazing, and I had like 100 subscribers, of which I could name all of them, and yeah, it's something. YouTube gods went, hey, we like your stuff, and we think other people might like it as well, and here you guys are. So thank you for staying with me for so long. Ron, thank you. I said best. So Ron, it's not Ron, it's Hellish. Thank you ever so much. That was very, very kind of you. I'll come back to your question in a second. So Ryan, so thank you for being here. I know sometimes I don't respond to everybody's comments and things. And I do. I'm so sorry. I try and keep on top of them, but they get. I've got a 3.5-year-old in the house, and it's just he doesn't want to stop. It just leave me alone, man. And I still remember. I remember all the guys that we used to have. When there's only 2 or 3 comments a day, you have proper conversations with people. And then you turn around, and all of a sudden it's like 150 or 200 a day, and you're kind of like. I try to keep on, but it gets away from you. So we've got JC. Thank you ever so much, JC. Eric. I think if you stick to black and white and you do one thing, that it certainly, choose one lens. It certainly helps focus the mind, which is always good. Thinly folded egg, awesome name. I dig that. Right. But thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm sort of I still can't do it. You'd think, spending 20 years in South Africa, I could say Mzansi. It's because I'm thinking about it too much, and I'm so out of practice. It's like I see Afrikaans words, I'm blah, 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 but for anybody who ever wants to know, completely piece of useless information, my favorite Afrikaans word is doedelzak, which is bagpipe in Afrikaans. So there we go. Lovely. Oh, okay, Black Pet, thank you. So Black Pet Photography says the Mixang Institute is for contemplative photography, and it's a Zen-based thing. That actually sounds completely up my channel. It's up my channel, up my street. That sounds good. I do. There was a guy who comments on the channels fairly often, and he sent me an email recently, and he said he's legally blind. I think he's here in the UK, and he takes photographs, and I have yet to respond to him because, again, emails also just but I would love it. I think that's a fantastic idea to kind of meld those two ideas. There's this idea of sort of Zen photography, mindfulness. I think is probably the more fashionable word, maybe, and what people see when they don't have the full capacity of their eyes. I think that would be a fascinating aspect to really dig into. So thank you for saying that. I'm going to actually Mixang, and I'm going to go and just Google that now, so I don't forget, because that would be terrible. Mixang, there we go. It's come up. I usually like it when you go up and it's this first thing. You don't need to do things. So we got hi Nuresh, probably from Portugal. Hi, thanks ever so much. You've got bifocals now. The cataracts. No, I will avoid that one if I can. Hi Dino from Croatia. I do know a Croat, one Croat I say. He's one of my wife's best friends, but I don't know any Croatian or any Croat, so it's terrible. TexAU. Congrats from Australia. That's TexAU, of course. Yeah, good day, mate. I've been accused of being Australian in many times, and once I did spend an entire afternoon in a pub in Edinburgh, pretending to be from Melbourne, and saying Australian kind of things. But there we go, which is kind of thing. So we've got there's copies of Fenland saying about sort of film photography. Would I recommend it? I enjoy it. Yeah. So personally, I would recommend it. I think it very much depends on what you want to photograph. Will it make you a better photographer? I don't think necessarily shooting film would make you a better photographer. It would make you possibly more disciplined, and I think ultimately and probably more confident in the way that you see a scene. Obviously with film you don't have the instant feedback, you can't change things on the fly. You kind of have to make a best guess judgment about how that image is going to look, and so it does make you focus. It makes you think about the actual technicality a little bit more, but I don't think it necessarily makes you better. However, having said that, I would certainly recommend that if you get an opportunity to go on a workshop to shoot film or something, to do so, especially if you've not done it before, because it is such, and I keep saying this a bit, like being hands-on and being tactile and sort of things, but there is a magic to seeing film come out of a spiral. There is a magic to seeing an image develop from a piece of paper under that red or orange light in a dark room that just out of there like a ghost out of this gloom. It's is so different. It is so different to taking a picture on a digital camera and just looking immediately on the back of the screen and seeing it. So if you get a chance, yeah, do it, or an alternative process workshop. Just give it a whirl. So we got here, so film, COVID, DSLRs, black and white, yeah, sort of things. So we got the all sorts of, wow, there's a whole heap of comments I didn't know. Sorry. Okay, so Hellish Gamers, thank you. Ron. So what is Ron is that Romanian as a currency? So we got all sorts of things. Stop apologizing. You don't have to. No, it's fine. We're like looking here. So we got happy birthdays. There are so many things. And Gordon is saying hi to the cat, and we got here. I can't pronounce your name. Ionut Shinescu. I really do apologize. I'm so sorry. But your best wishes from Milton Keynes, dude. My very first photograph was taken in North Crawley, which is within eyesight of Milton Keynes. So just outside Newport Pagnell. So that's kind of where I grew up. Back in the day when it was very much a new town, and all the trees and all the roundabouts were little itty bitty trees. So I think with the concrete, the concrete cows, and going to Willen Lake and seeing the thing, and Milton Keynes, it was now called the Centre at MK, when it was completely brand new. So there we go. Lovely. Anyway, so I've been rattling on a bit. Let's look at some pictures here. So we've got, we were looking at some of these guys. So I'm just going to zoom through these, because apparently what happens is it goes back to the beginning every time we do this. So that's fun. Anyway, just a little brief catch up. So previously on the Photographic Eye of Alex talking about stuff, there were some pictures of things. So moving forward by like 30 odd years, I these days mostly take photographs on my phone. I mentioned this before, on my iPhone. It's convenient. I have I have a small child with me mostly, which is not really conducive to photographing anything, apart from it, because he's just it's one big lump of thing. So my phone is my go-to, and excuse me, all this talking is just okay. So I kind of photograph the things, and because I like the square format, which is what I kind of got started with, I sort of tend to gravitate towards things. And over the years, and neatly, we were just talking about Milton Keynes. I never understood where this feeling, this gut feeling in me to be drawn towards brutalist kind of architecture and very very angular geometry came from. And it's from Milton Keynes. It's from growing up around Milton Keynes, which, if you don't know, if you're not from the UK, is what's called Newtown, and it was built in the 70s with lots of brutalist architecture. The shopping centre itself is a I think it's brutalist or modernist. It's one of the two. So lots of very square buildings, lots of very industrial, very hard, angular, modern kind of things. And I sort of look at those photographs now, and I see this is where it comes from. This is where all these feelings in me are coming out. This photograph, for example, is the roof of a shopping centre in Johannesburg, which I quite liked. And this is this kind of thing. When you're walking around, you can see photographs wherever, if you just kind of know what resonates with you. Why is this picture sideways? So this picture's not supposed to be sideways. Oh, this is going to be annoying, because they put them all sideways. Yes, and that picture's sideways as well, and that one is also sideways. Why are they all sideways? No, don't be silly, you twittish thing. I know why. I know why these are sideways. Oh, technical issues, ridiculous. Because I photographed them with my iPhone, and they have a built-in rotate thing. So we'll skip through some of these that are now sideways. Unless I can do this. Let's try this. Let's try if we can rotate it. Can we rotate it? I don't know. No, we can't. Okay, so we'll skip through that. But that one, this one is fine because I photographed straight up. So you kind of, you know, you see so many of these things that are around that once you start realizing that you certainly in my own case, that I seem to like architectural aspects of things and geometric shapes, that the world opens up to you in a way that is wonderful, that I certainly like, because I've sort of decided as I get older that I don't like, or unless it's maybe not I don't like, I'm not fussed about being conformed about or being considered to be one photographer or another. I tend to just photograph things that I like, and I know this is a topic that I came to. They look good sideways, yeah, that's kind of thing. You know, I don't really mind too much about what things, you know, that I photograph. And yes, one of the joys about the things I actually photographed that were coming up on screen is that for the most part, yeah, their orientation doesn't matter. Like, this is me looking at a roof of some things in Brno, I think, in the Czech Republic. It's like they're you know, they are like panels where some art was hanging on and stuff. And of course, most people will just look at the art and go, okay, fine. But when you start looking around, you go, oh, I quite like the way the light's working with that thing in the roof. You know, it's such an interesting way of looking at the world. And of course, again here, you know, this traditionally would have been another 90 degrees clockwise. So the building's on the bottom and the thing. But now look at it, actually, it doesn't need to be that way. It could be any way. And I do like this kind of juxtaposition between modern architecture, especially, and the natural world. I find there's a very interesting flow with these things, and this one definitely doesn't work this way. It's all right, but this one, this is completely upside down. But this is again a shopping centre in Brno. Now, I really like this photograph. It's a stairwell. I've been a big fan of stairwells for many years now. I'm going to start a magazine called Stairwell Monthly. Which is, all right, I've copyrighted that. You can't go to it. You know, they're just lovely, and this is by no means like the world's greatest photograph. But when you're walking through something, this is a shopping center. It wasn't the world's greatest shopping center even. It was a little bit run down and kind of not, you know, a little bit rough. You know, but there was a photograph here to be had. It was a little bit tricky to find a composition that sort of worked. You know, the two bright lights in there kind of ruin it, but they don't, because whatever, I like it. This is you know, we went to an escape room, and now it's a light sideways. Actually, do you know what? This is a really good exercise, that these photographs are not displayed the way that I had imagined that they should be displayed. And yet, we're looking at this and going, do you know what? How does the world look when we're not doing things the way that we're supposed to do? I would never have considered of putting this picture sideways, but now that I look at it, it changes the whole aspect of the photographs. It changes the way that it feels. It changes the way that we read it, because all of a sudden, this is, you know, if you tilt your head 90 degrees to the left and look at it sideways, that's how it should be. It's a light fixture in a communist era office block in Brno in the Czech Republic, where there was a really good escape room. So if you're in Brno, go to that escape room. It was awesome. And I finished it with my wife, just me, the two of us. It was awesome. But you sort of look at it, you go, now that it's sideways, it's a whole different picture. Oh, why are we back in here? That shouldn't be there. So anyway, so that's kind of some of the pictures. I will, in the background, I'm going to fix some of these pictures, because why not? So yes, so it's a very interesting thing that when we look at photographs in a way that we are kind of going, well, that's not right, you know, that's not how they are supposed to be, then you sort of go, well, it's a crazy Gothic stairwell. I do have some Gothic stairwells, I think, coming up. I'm going to make another slideshow with these. And, you know, that you look at these photographs and I'm going to sort of say, oh, that's very strange. Yeah, it's sort of weird. Maybe there's, maybe I say, oh, I know, there's probably a list of things that you can't do, or too many that you can't add, so I'm going to add another one. So you kind of, there we go, but that's now far too big, so I'm just going to make that a bit smaller. Very good. He says, look at this. Look at all this doing things on the fly because we can, sort of thing. Yeah, it you know, when you look at photographs that are, you know, they're sort of made wrong, or they've been, oops, no, that's the wrong thing. Look at me, I'm just being a twit. Chucky's being a twit. Sorry, Chucky is my gaming. Chucky is my gaming. My gaming. My gaming handle. He says gaming handle. Like people know what he's talking about. So there we go. So let's just make a new slideshow. Yeah. So when you look at photographs, and you sort of go, well, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is how it's supposed to look. Then you sort of like, why do we not ever consider that we could see them in different ways? I really wish we should, so I'm just busy making this thing a lot smaller because of course it makes it huge. I really wish that we would actually have the ability, the capacity, there we go, that's better, to say to ourselves, you know, we should just do our own thing, that we should absolutely just kind of not worry about, oh, there we go, not worry about how people perceive our photographs, and free us from the restraint of just being, why is this not sort of thing, just being, oh, I know why, sorry. This is what happens when you use software that you don't actually know what you're doing with. Right, we're going to use it, we've got automatic, and we'll just run through them. So, I see, I've got people, Stairwell Monthly, absolutely. Yes, oh yes, so Graham has recognised Lincoln and Hello Scabber. Yes, I used to play World of Tanks, and I played many tanks games. So more pictures that are on their side, because why not? You know, that sort of thing. So these kind of pictures, so like this photograph here, so this is from Berno, I think, you know. So basically what it's doing is giving you an overview of the sort of thing that I like to photograph, which you can sort of see a feel, irrespective of the way that it looks. And I've been waffling around about a certain thing. I say certain thing. I've been waffling around about talking about pictures that are of, you know, in a certain orientation. And while some of these photographs don't work because they are in the incorrect orientation, because, you know, he wants to know, you know, that it's something that I feel that if we were talking earlier about, so there's that Lincoln photograph, that we were talking about, you know, the tactile nature of printing your own pictures. And one of those things is that you can move the easel when you are making the print. And we tend not to do that in digital. And I wonder why we've kind of stopped this idea of changing the perspective of how we look at things. Like this for example, is a fan that's moving. Now, we could look at that and go, well, it's supposed to be a fan that hangs from the roof. Now, obviously, this photograph, it doesn't really make too many sense because the chair or the lounger is incorrect. But this photograph here, it could be in any orientation. Just because you know that it's not supposed to be, or I know it's not supposed to be, I just know it's supposed to be round the other way, and this one too, doesn't mean that it has to be. Now that I'm looking at it, that actually is a far more interesting photograph when it is there. This one is a little bit because we kind of know that the vase or the reeds would slide down. There's a feeling that we know it would slide. And this one, there's obviously an arrow that distorts our perspective on it. Shelley's like, are you tipsy? No, I've been talking all day. We've had some friends around, and I've just just been going at it, and I'm just going with the flow. So, you know, it is very much a thing where if you look at all these photographs, what I like from them, what moves them is that they are not of a specific thing. I certainly don't photograph I say specific thing. I don't photograph in a set genre. I think that's kind of as I've gotten older. I don't do. So as Graham said, he looks at the thing, and that's kind of. That's what makes me happy. These are the photographs, and you can sort of maybe see that now when you look at them, that they're not necessarily of any one thing. They're just things that I like, and that's why I don't show them too much, because I don't really want to. I was about to say impress people, but I don't really want to just put them up and have people go, oh, this is so nice and stuff. It's nice. It's obviously it's nice when people like your photographs. But through all of those things, they're just things that interest me. That there's something that I've seen. It's like, you know, the picture I said that doesn't work because the arrow's pointing down. That's a toilet in an airport. It's pretty mundane, and there's nothing. It doesn't have a meaning. It doesn't have any deeper purpose or whatever. We were there slightly early for the aeroplane, so we spent a lot of time in the departure lounge, walking around. And I went to the toilet and I went, "That's an interesting picture." So I got on my phone and took a picture because, nothing says suspicious like taking pictures in a loo. You know, that's exactly how we roll. You know, it's those sort of things. But this is kind of one of the things that I would like to encourage all of you guys to do, is to photograph whatever makes you happy. There's going to be a theme. There's going to be a common theme throughout the channel over the next few months, which is to not worry about what you do. I think we look at all of the people, all of the stuff who have created art, and by art I mean anything that is, you know, a creation process. So that can be food as well. You know, they don't particularly worry too much about making other people happy. They're doing things that come from themselves, and I think that's kind of. So I'm reading. Gordon Will says, "Which Way Up Weekly could be a sister publication." Absolutely. It wouldn't be a TPE episode without some sort of weird issue. So, you know, it would be great to have just, you know, people remember that they're not doing this. They're not doing this to please somebody else. That all of you guys, every single one of you watching this, like you there, you started taking photographs because you enjoy it. Just the same way that when I was given that Spider-Man camera, and I took photographs, that I didn't do it to please somebody else. I didn't do it to garner likes or shares or any of that stuff that comes around in the modern world, or even in pre-social media days. I didn't do it to enter into competition or to put up on the wall and be judged by a panel of peers. I took a photograph because I was having fun with it. I was being silly. I was, you know, looking at just, hey, let's take a picture, and this is what you do, you know, sort of thing. So that's absolutely kind of kind of where we are. Anyway, so if anybody has any sort of I say actual questions. If anybody has any questions you'd like to know, like all sorts of things, happy to say. I'm just going to have a little look see here. Like, yeah, all these pictures. It's very annoying, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ditch some of the, because it's the iPhone pictures that are, of course, it's the digital pictures that are being the issue, isn't it? So just quickly, while I'm rattling off and waiting for some questions, I'm going to get two heads test, so images, stuff like that. So I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to put that picture back up on screen while I fiddle in the background with images slideshow number 1. So we're just going to do that. So we're going to remove that. Yes, and we're going to do this, and we're going to move that. And we've got folio, which is now hidden, and that was not, there we go. Look at the trains. I love lovely trains. Boop, boop. Yeah, so what's my Insta? So there we go. That didn't take long, did it? My Insta, I don't really have an Instagram page, I'm afraid to say. It is something that never really grabbed me. It just did not, it never really, it never really just grabbed me. I don't know, I can't really say much more than that, unfortunately. That I don't know, just there was a thing about it, just didn't make sense. If you desperately want to see my Instagram page, there is I do have for my studio, which is called Muse Portraits. There is a very old, very not really used Instagram page. So if you search Muse Portraits, it should be me. I think there's one or two. I think that there was was a Muse Portrait in Vancouver, I feel, at some point, who was doing all sorts of things. Instagram is not something that I've really kind of gone good. Warren says he started reading Susan Sontag. So Wayne's, John, I'll come back to your question in a minute. So Wayne has said, I was like, why would the so-called greats uninspire me yet unheard of people really hit home? It's tricky, isn't it? There's a lot of people, there's a lot of great photographers, and I'm going to use the word great as a label that are not particularly great. I think it's probably fair to say, and one of the things is that certainly with a lot of photography, in fact all photography and all art, is that you need to be in a time and a place ready to receive it. There's a lot of photography that I saw 20 years ago that I just kind of went, doesn't do anything for me. But now when I look at it now, I can see it with a different lens and I can see it with a different perspective, so it resonates with me more. It may be just at that point if that's you who sent me these things, I doubt you'll be watching from Iceland, but if it is you, yeah, that'd be nice. So you drift off topic. There's a lot of great photographers who I think are more considered to be great because there's been a lot written about them. That there's a lot of baggage of people saying, I want to tell you how great this person is. And their photography isn't necessarily something that resonates with you. And that's perfectly fine. It is absolutely fine. There are many photographers who, like, I like Fan Ho's work I like it. It's kind of cool, but I'm not a Fan Ho fanboy. See what I did there? And a lot of people say, but why? Because he's amazing. He's like a poster child. And it's like, well, some of that stuff just doesn't resonate with me. It's okay to say that you don't like the great. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. Like what you like. don't feel that because somebody says that this person is worth liking, and that includes me, that you have to, because just absolutely don't. Anyway, so we got here. So this is one of my, so I did think long and hard about showing you some of my studio photography of actual paying clients, and ultimately I thought was no, they came to me to have family pictures taken. They didn't, sort of thing. So it's a different thing. So what I'm showing you is the studio work that I create, or some of it, for myself, or as a competition, as was when I used to enter competitions. So this is one I had. They actually came in on and they came in with a family, and I photographed them, and I said, "Oh, look, you got identical twins," and they were like properly identical. So they came in and we photographed them and what have you. Now there is some noise on this picture, as somebody's pointed about noise, and no, I don't really mind noise. It's never been something that really bothers me too much. I know that noise and grain are not the same thing, so sort of thing. So this is actually a grain filter rather than noise. Because the two are kind of different things, and I was going through a stage of experimenting with processing styles. So, excuse me. So this sort of thing, and I had a big. This is my Scout Union Jack, because I was a Scout leader at the time. So I had a nice big Union Jack flag, and I got the girls to wrap it. I was like channeling what do you call it? Britpop from the 90s and stuff, and I really quite like this photograph, but some people are like, it's not so much. So this is the same. So these are the same girls, or one of the same girls, and this is kind of it's not to everybody's taste or something, but it does go to show that you can do all sorts of things in the studio if you just kind of try some things out. Now, I could look at this and go, well, it's reminiscent of Ed Weston and not Edward Weston, Edward Curtis, and his work with the Native American Indians, and that would be wrong, because it's nothing like that, but it has the same sort of colouring and it has the same sort of lighting sort of feel, but that's not the point with it. Because it's just a picture of this young lady who I was trying to do something different in the studio, and what she's wrapped in is actually like a B&Q, or for our American viewers that would be like Home Base, or a hardware store dust sheet that cost me like 12 quid, and I went, and I have like a little cupboard of stuff that I kind of threw. I said, just wrap yourself in this, because what she was wearing wasn't conducive to this kind of photograph, and I noticed, excuse me, when I was photographing that they had an interesting look to them, like a kind of an interesting story look in terms of their face. So I wanted to do some pictures, and actually her sister is kneeled down behind her, pulling the thing tight around her. So it's not just like a kind of like a wrapped in a cloth. It's got a bit of shape to it. And I just like it. So I thought, it's one of these pictures, and also it's one octabox. There's an octabox off to her left that is just kind of, it's feathered on the front, so it's kind of about 45 degrees in front, and it's not pointing at her. So feathering, if you're not familiar with the term, if you've never used studio lights, is rather than having the light point, and I'm trying to get in the camera here, rather than having the light point directly at you, what it does, it's kind of smushing across the side of you, so it's got a bit more of a wrap sort of quality. And so that's kind of thing. So that's why the shadows are a little bit sort of softer, and it has a little bit of a smoother quality. But it just goes straight. You don't need all this fancy stuff, man. This is a £12 drop cloth. There's a painter thing. A young lady who's channeling something inside her eyes, and there's a fan as well. I can see that I've been blowing it with a little handheld, like a desk fan kind of thing, which is it's not great because there's lots of little thingy hairs coming up, but there we go. So this is, again, you know, now you'll notice that all of these photographs that we're looking here, so there's obviously two, they're all very different. Because they're not from the same time frame, but I like to experiment with things. So this is a particular young lady. I think I'll go back there. So this is a young lady called Stephanie who came and modelled for me, and one of the things that I had always been intrigued about, if I want to call it art or whatever, is the masks that we wear as a person. You know, we put on a facade, and I got some white, like white makeup, you know, pan stick sort of clown kind of makeup. So Steph is wearing white makeup on her face, like all around here, and you can see it on her shoulders. And this is a case of me going into Lightroom, into Photoshop, and just mucking with an image, playing with it, really pulling it, and just saying like, what have you got in there that you can give to me? So it's very reminiscent of kind of lith film. So lith is like a copy kind of film from back in the day. So it's very contrasty. So you can see there's no shadow, there's no details in the shadows and stuff like that. And I did have to kind of black out her eyes with a bit of cloning, just to kind of do that. But my idea was to try and just have the surface area of the skin be the picture, and then there's nothing else. So it's kind of like it's like what we would have had on our faces. So, you know, so just guys kind of showed that you could kind of just try things out, just see what happens. You know, I mean, I did a whole series of pictures like this, and they're just kind of, they're for the lulz, but I really like them, and it's, you know, it's fun to experiment, and you should experiment with things. So this is her without me doing all that kind of weird stuff with her. So again, this is kind of, I was going through a phase of really working on my lighting and being a little bit more considered about lighting. And this is nothing special. I say it's nothing special. I think it's a reasonably, you know, nice photograph. I could have changed some things, but the lighting is coming from is coming from sort of 3/4 behind her, skimming across her face, and then there's a bit of film with a 40-inch what you call it, foam core board, just to get you on this side of the face with her and stuff like that. So, you know, it's again, nothing too fancy, and I will say, anybody who's looking to get involved into taking photographs with you know, with models, going into a studio or just trying stuff out. Steph, I found her on a place called Purple Port, and she was fantastic. It didn't cost me anything. All that she wanted was some copies of the pictures for her folio, and I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed photographing her, and I've photographed her actually a number of times. So, you know, if you are looking to experiment with these sort of things, absolutely, you can find these people amongst all the dross, and there is some dross on places like Purple Port. You get ladies like Steph. This is all her makeup. This is all her clothing, and she was absolutely fantastic. So we've got some questions. So Leeds, I'm new to photography, do a lot of editing and straight there. So yeah, I was going to say the editing and stuff like that. If you're new to photography, try and get as much right as you can in camera. So like with this, there's not too much, maybe a little bit of dodge and burn, but there's not too much. Why are none of the people smiling in their portraits? Because we take it seriously around here. It's this whole thing of like, if you go back to traditional art portraits, people generally don't smile. I'm talking about painted portraits. And then of course photography came along, and it was 2 or 3 second exposures. So it was all kind of not kind of because you can't hold on the smart thing. So that's kind of where it sort of comes from. And it's not to say that you need to do that. It's one of those things that just seems to have happened to have been it just seems to have been a trend. I suppose you could call it a trend that seems to have just stuck. I would be interested to see. I certainly should probably go back and look at this. Interested to see what would happen if you submitted pictures of people having fun, I suppose would be a word, in someone like Taylor Wessing. Might be interesting to go back and see how many of those pictures would have an element of that with him. Leads the fallen vlogs. Why don't you find if you over edit it? It does, yeah. It is sometimes you and you get a feel for this. You're sitting in front of an image and you go, I am now just dicking around with it for the sake of dicking around with it. You kind of get a feel for when you're just now overcooking, or you're over egging the pudding. I think is a feel. I feel like that. So there's so John, you were saying, going back to one of John's questions earlier, it's like what does he attribute? He says leaning off the camera. What do I attribute the growth of the channel to? Is I want to say me, which is I think that there was just a gap. There was a gap in the market in YouTube photography channels of people talking about photography and talking about sort of more classical photographers. And once YouTube had enough data on the people who watch the videos that I put out, it went, okay, now I get it. I get the sort of person who's going to maybe like this channel. And that's what's happened, is that they put it out to people who go, that's exactly the sort of comment. That's exactly sort of the content that I've been looking for, and that's, I think, where we are. That's where the growth of the channel has come from. And also the fact that I don't want to put on a big hat and say, oh, it's because me and it's my personality. But it's I think the fact that I do enjoy talking about photography. I do enjoy sharing this with you. I think that comes across. This is something that I have been doing. This is a job that I have done, he says, for 30 years. You've seen, this is that thing of the books I showed earlier. That's a small portion of some of the books that I have. I have been around photography as a thing since I was a child. And I want to share it with you. I want to share with you guys, every single one of you, how much I've enjoyed this, and I want to give you the ability to enjoy it as well, or enjoy it more, because that's the sort of thing. So maybe that's kind of like, I'm not some guy who just kind of come along and gone, oh, photography is a niche that I can, think, and I I don't know anything about photography, and but I'm going to tell you that I do, because because Adnams have just released this new bottle opener. Oh yeah, and you need to have this bottle opener because it's going to make your photography awesome. It's that kind of thing. So to people, I think there are people who have jumped on it because it is a niche that can be quite lucrative. Certainly from affiliate things, because if you're buying a £5,000 camera based on a YouTube video, which maybe not be the best thing, but the commission on that would be quite good. Anyway, so here's a picture of my studio in all of its mucky glory. So if you're thinking about how lights actually look when they're lighting somebody, this is how it looks. So this is a guy called Stuart, who I photographed many years ago. So you can see I've got my 1.3 octa, which is kind of just feather. So we talked about feathering earlier, so my throat is going. And so you can sort of see the light itself is not pointing at Stuart, it's sort of pointing kind of in front of him. And then there's a little head with it looks like a honeycomb on the back there, just slicing the thing. So, you know, I didn't have the biggest space. You can look at that and see that's not a huge space to work in. It was also photographed at 2:30 in the afternoon. We can see with the light, with the clock, and my camera bag's in it. But that's kind of one of the things, is that, you know, don't forget, photography is theatre at the end of the day, and it's theatre about what you choose to show somebody, you know, and you are free to show them as much or as little of the artifice of photography as you absolutely want. So this is Stephanie again. This is same sort of lighting, same, you know, just nice, sort of simple. You know, she did all of her makeup on this. Yeah, Alex Soft. So I was just looking at the comments. Yeah, Alex Soft is you know, great photographer, and again, somebody who talks a lot about photography rather than the gear. So this picture of Stephanie, she's got this kind of headpiece thing on her head. That's actually a bouquet holder, because the lady who was in the unit next to my studio is a oh god, what's the word? You know, floral. You know, she does all floral arrangements and things. Actually, she's won a gold medal at Chelsea, so, you know, but not that she would tell anybody, because, well, you know, why should she? And that was a big floral thing, and I said, oh, can I borrow it? Because I used to go into a store and say, oh, this looks pretty cool. This would be, and I would grab things, and I said, Steph, would you mind jamming this in your hair? So she said, yeah, it's kind of cool, you know. But there we go. So that's kind of one of the things. And then we're back at these guys. We'll leave them for a minute. So that's kind of, you know, it's no, that's the wrong thing. There we go. So that gives you a bit of a flavour of the photography that I do. It's a bit of a mixed bag. It's sort of all over the place. And I think probably the reason why I don't show it too much on the channel is that I have a kind of a weird thing that goes contrary to sort of what I was saying earlier about the idea that people resonate with the channel, that you have kind of stuck with the channel, you've watched the channel and enjoyed it and subscribed because you like various things about it, and one of those various things is me. I think there's no getting away from that. The way that I talk, if I was like, hey guys, what we're doing, let's smash the like button and, you know, let's make photography, we're good at photography, that would probably put you off. But for whatever reason, you like me, you like my personality, and that's, and I've always kind of been mindful of not wanting to make the channel about me. That this channel is not about Alex the person. This is not about Alex the photographer. There are other channels who do that perfectly fine. You know, all the channels like, you know, Thomas Heaton and any channel that has a name as the person, or the channel name is the actual person. You know, that it's kind of about that person. It's about their photography. But this is not. This channel was not. I did not start this channel to promote my photography. I did not start this channel to say, look at me, look how great my photographs are, and things of that nature, because that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because we're celebrating photography, the whole gamut of photography, everything about it. So, you know, Fen and wildlife clips. You often ask me questions about you know, wildlife photography, and I don't actually know particularly much about wildlife photography, but that's perfectly fine, and we probably should look into it, because it is an interesting genre that I think is quite overlooked. So that's kind of why I don't show my photographs, is because I don't want this channel to devolve into me, look how great I am. This is all the things. This is more about showing to you and saying to you, look, there are all these things. There are all these things in photography, And some of them you're going to like, some of them you're going to go, nope, do not care for that one iota. And other stuff you're going to go, I hadn't really considered that, but actually I quite like it, And that's kind of what I want this channel to be, is also for me to kind of sit and play with my hair on camera, because it's driving me nuts. It looks ridiculous. And now I've just made it look completely stupid. It's about looking to, just introduce you and have people enjoy photography in the same way that I have done for 30 odd years, when my hair was a lot nicer and more controllable. It's just to say that. So that's kind of why I don't show the photographs. That's why I don't show mine, because this channel's not about me. It's about you guys. It's about holding up an option to you and saying, let's just try this out. Try this out. Look at this. This is an opportunity for me to share some of the things that I have enjoyed throughout my career as a photographer, which I think is probably only about halfway through. And as I discover more and more and more, then I get to share it with you guys. And some of it sticks and some of it doesn't. But that's fine, because we are all unique. We are all different people. And I think that's just a lovely, it's a lovely thing. And that's kind of shone through with the channel, with your responses, is that the person who sat here a year ago, well, not in here because I didn't live here a year ago, but the person who sat in front of the camera a year ago with his brown jumper, and as soon as I reach 50,000 subs, I'm going to treat myself to a West Coast, which will happen in the next few days. He sat there and he went, I don't know how long anybody's going to watch this or whether or not people like it, but if I get a chance to say to one person, to touch one person and say, look, there are things about photography that you may not be aware of because they don't fall into the world of what's popular on Facebook or what have you, then I will have done what I wanted to do, to reach out and inspire somebody to either stick with photography, because as you may know, I kind of was on the fence about it for the last couple of years, and for various reasons. But I want people to be inspired. I want you to stick with the photography, to enjoy it, to realize that there are so many people, there are so many voices and things just telling you, do this, this is the way, this is the way, this is the way, this is the way, you must do it. This is the secret. This is this is the mistake that you keep making. And that's not what it is. Photography is about you expressing yourself. It's about you doing your thing. I can simply say, I just want to hold up something and say, William Klein. Have you thought about William Klein? Do you know about him? If not, here's the thing: you might like him, you may not. But if you get something from him, cool. And that's kind of where we are. As we see, Andrew looks like his last week. Yes. It is. These are all the guys. There are so many of your people, and it feels like there are a lot of people whom I feel like I know, and I've had some emails from people where my throat is, look at me with my non-alcoholic-y thing. If you're not familiar with the UK, so Adnams is a brewery down in Southwold. They do some very nice stuff. So anyway, and I'm not sponsored by Adnams. There are so many people who I feel like I'm getting to know. Certainly, a number of you have reached out and emailed me, and we have conversations through email. And there is the Photographic Eye community, which I unfortunately has been a little bit on low key because I've been working on some other things. but there's going to be more about that in the future, certainly towards the new year. What have you, where I put up videos that don't have ads on them and things of that nature. But one of the things is Tanya, thanks Tanya. She has to check out later on. One of the things that I would like to do is, and I've always thought about this with TPE, is it would be great to have a conversation with you in person, to sit around and actually talk, because this is a one-sided thing, and obviously with a stream, at least I could see some comments, and it's nice to be able to respond to those comments. But the real beauty, the real magic about photography is when we are engaged with each other, when we are engaged in an actual dialogue. And of course, one of the things we can do about that is to be in person. And there was a company that reached out to me recently who said, look, no, we organise sort of trips away and stuff like that. And I thought, this might be quite cool. And rather than sort of saying, we're going to go here, or we're going to do this, or what have you, they said, look, we can do it like a survey, and we can find out from your audience what it is that what they would like to do. So there is a link in the description blocks below, and you may have noticed there's a thing about like a TPE get together. So if you are interested in going on like a little kind of a TPE holiday, and there will be obviously photography, and there'll be a chance to talk, and we can put together an itinerary that's all about centered around photography, but also just kind of getting to know each other, having a nice little sort of chat. Then please do check out the link below, because it's for 2022. God, it seems like 2021 has just flown by, and I think I'm going to struggle through the whole 2020s with 2022 sort of thing. But that'd be it'd be nice. It'd be nice to sort of see what you guys sort of think about things like that. And that's kind of ultimately what I really get from this is a reminder that there are people who are enjoying photography who don't look at it like a business. That's probably the biggest thing, is that it's not a business. I obviously from a professional point of view have different kind of feelings about photography, and you guys have reminded me, because the majority of people who watch the channel are amateurs in the strict sense of the word, and in a positive sense of the word. I know I've used the word amateur in a slightly derogatory way in the past. And you have reminded me about why we do this. And actually now, the more that I've spent with you, the more I have spent with you guys talking about photography and enjoying, I consider myself more to be leaning towards the amateur side of things. And that's the person who does it for the love of it, rather than because it pays my bills. And that's probably why I don't show, or I've not shown, excuse me. Gee, I'm getting all teared up. I have not shown any of my actual paid photography work. Is because it's not what I do as a photographer. It is so rare, I think, that a photographer can actually create what they want to create and be paid for it. You're always going to be forced to do something by either the client or the art director or whoever. So it's the whole sort of thing. It's archaic, as mentioned. There is a Discord server. Yes, there is a Discord server. I found that the Discord, I sort of started it and it wasn't quite right for what I want. I would like to do with TPE. And there is, I'm going to put out some sort of course content if you'd like to, sort of go into a bit more depth about, learning to see and to speak visually, to improve that side of photography that works in conjunction with the side of photography that is the technical. So the two things kind of really want to work together. Those sort of things. And then also, with the other thing is I know some people have talked about, they would like to have more sort of direct feedback on their photographs, and that's kind of one of the things that I'm looking at is putting into place maybe a monthly stream where people can submit a photograph and we can look at them together, and in a positive way, because I do think that there's a difference between if you ask for feedback on your photograph and you go online and people are like, oh, your photograph is it's nice or it's rubbish or something, and that's not really feedback, is it? It's and quite often people are trying to make your photograph look like theirs. I think that is a big downfall when you're asking about feedback on your photographs, is that quite often, people are going, oh, well, I would have done this, or I would have done that, or X, Y, and Z. And it's not really thinking about what you would have done. How am I going to improve, how are you going to improve your photography if you're just going to try and copy what somebody else says you should do? So it's kind of, it's a whole thing. And that sort of thing, so it would be nice to kind of get into those sort of things. And I don't think she's watching tonight, because as far as I'm aware, she's in Iceland. But there is somebody, just going back to about the beginnings of the channel, why it's sort of come through. And there are, my wife is obviously very supportive in the channel. So Shans, if you're watching, because I did threaten I would put her on the stream tonight. She's like, no. But so yeah, Shans, if you're watching, I'll be done pretty soon, so I'll come through. But thank you ever so much for your support. It means a great deal. And so to also my friend in America who sends me bags of almond M&Ms for me to snack on, because she knows that I'm a sucker for almond M&Ms. So S, we sat around your kitchen table, 2016, something like that, with Jay, and I was like, no, YouTube is not a thing and stuff like that. But though, certainly all those videos at the beginning, we talked about them, and your support was also equally important, and it's been great to know that you've been here the whole time. But thank you for also being supportive. So that's the thing, and finally, thank you to each and every one of you. I'm going to look straight into my lens here. You don't want to see that. That's a horrible thing. That's terrible. Every single one of you guys who has sat and given up of your extremely precious time to listen to me waffle about photography, to send me emails saying, Alex, you need to lighten up, or have sent emails saying, I'm not so sure about this, or I really enjoyed this, or to say you have reinvigorated, or you have inspired me. None of this would be possible. I would not be able to sit here and talk to you guys without you. So without you, that person, you are, this is the channel that it is, not because of me, not because of the photography we look at. It's because of you. You have inspired me, you have kept me going, you have made me reconnect with my photography, and without you being here, none of this would have been possible. None of this would have been it would have just been a pipe dream, a kind of like we'll do it someday sort of thing. So I absolutely, if I could come and give you all a big hug, I would come and give you all just big hugs, because I cannot believe how much I have enjoyed and been equally frustrated over the last year of really just rediscovering the joy of photography. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I really want to thank you so much for everything, and hopefully we can sit there in a year's time as well and say, you know, it's been 2 years and now I have 51,000 subscribers or something like that. You know, but it is just, you know, I cannot thank you enough for all of your support and stuff. And now I've been staring at this screen for like 2 hours. My eyes, I do need to get some new glasses, because these prescriptions are like 15 years old. My eyes are not what they used to be, which is one of the shame. But anyway, there was a thing in the background. It says all the way back and probably pulling stuff off. There is a thing that friend of mine from America. Not only does she send me almond M&Ms, but she's also made this little. It's crochet, I think, sort of thing. And this is you guys. So this is also to you. That you are all awesome sauce, and I really cannot thank you enough. I could spend the next hour just saying thank you, but it really does. It has absolutely blown me away that so many people share this love of photography. So I would like to say, well, thank you once again. I'm just going to keep on saying thank you until you all leave. So thank you. No, it's been great, and I'm going to sign off. But before I do, I was going to say, yeah, so if you are interested in sort of, you know, just finding out a little bit more about sort of getting together, or just putting your thoughts and your feedback into that little server, that'd be fantastic. As always, you know, anything that you can do to sort of, you know, sort of encourage other people to watch the channel. You may not think that a liking or a comment or something makes a huge difference, but it helps YouTube understand who is like you, who are the people who are like you, who would enjoy this content. And you sort of, you know, so the guys who have come in recently, you're here, or you found this content not because of a random chance, but because the algorithm look to all the people who watch the Photographic Eye, and it goes, and they make assumptions about things, and they go, well, the person, you know, they go, well, I get lots of Alice Cooper videos. I like Alice Cooper, but they've been trying to get me to watch Alice Cooper videos for ages, and because it goes, well, you watch this channel and yada yada yada, and other people who watch this channel also like this, and they, you know, and so when you interact with the videos, and when you say hi and say I like it and stuff like that, it helps YouTube understand what sort of person likes watching these things. So anyway, so that's a little kind of, that's my like and subscribe sort of thing. But anyway, it's been, and I do love to. I think we should do an Alice Cooper episode about, you know, all sorts of things. And I got told to sit down at one of his concerts. I was right at the back, and the spotlight was bouncing off my head. I was so, anyway, but here I am no more Mr. Nice Guy. So there we go, guys. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure, and if I will obviously, you'll see you with other content throughout December, but and we'll probably have a live stream before Christmas. But if you're not on the next live stream, please have a wonderful Christmas. Have a fantastic December wherever you are in the world. You know, look after yourselves, and thank you once again, every single one of you. Right? Thank you ever so much for making this channel that we all enjoy, because it is more you than it is me. So thank you, and I'm going to hit the end stream button now, and yeah, have a wonderful Saturday, have a fantastic Sunday, and be lucky, and we'll chat to you all again soon. Right, cheers, bye bye.